Hi, and welcome to the learning video for Week 1, Lesson 4 of ELA Grade 12. Again, I'm Seema, and I'll be walking you through the lesson today. This is from your learning packet, and as you can see here, what we'll be doing today is rereading the text Home Away from Home for the last time with the focus on how the author uses transitional words and phrases. What you'll need for the lesson today is the text Home Away from Home from your packet, the note catcher for learning for lesson 4, and something to write with. The learning target for today is for you to be able to accurately use a transitional word or phrase to join two related ideas. You'll be rereading Home Away from Home today with a focus on finding transitional words and phrases. So your note catcher for lesson 4 has a table that's shown on the screen here, and that table lists some common transitional words and phrases. So you'll first take a few minutes to read the paragraph on the note catcher and to skim the table and to read about what some of those transitional words and phrases are. And then you'll reread Home Away from Home and underline some of those words and phrases that you find in the text. Before you get started, I will give you an example. So here is the table of transitional words and phrases, and there's quite a few here on the screen. And in the text, as I was reading the text, I noticed that for example is one that the author used at the beginning of paragraph 3. And so I see it here on the table as a transitional word or phrase, and I see it in the text here as well, so I went ahead and underlined that. So that is basically what you'll be doing for this final rereading, is underlining any of these transitional words and phrases that you find in the text. Once you've done that, your task will be to think about the transitional phrases that the author used. Um, Writers use those transitional words and phrases to create connection and flow between ideas in their writing. Different transitions serve different purposes, such as showing contrast, showing cause and effect, or elaborating upon an idea. So think about the variety of transitions in Home Away from Home and their particular purpose. So think about whether the author used some of the same ones over and over again, or whether there was some variety in what was used. And think about why certain words were used at certain times in the text. Once you've done that, um, talk with your family member, caregiver, or friend about the following question. How would the development of the thesis in Home Away from Home be different if the author did not use transitional words or phrases? So what if those phrases weren't in there? How would the flow of the writing be different? Would the message of the text have come across as clearly as it did now? So think about some of that and talk about your answers with somebody. Once you've done that, it's time for your daily writing. And the writing today is to respond to the following question. In what ways is home both a place and a state of mind? So that's one of our guiding questions from the unit. In what ways is home both a place and a state of mind? So now that you've read the launch text a few times, you might have some preliminary ideas about this question. Um, so you'll be answering this question using about 5 to 7 sentences to respond to this question. I'd like you to use specific details and evidence from the text. Also, if you look back to lesson 1 from this packet and the vocabulary words that you defined there, I'd like you to try and use at least 2 of those vocabulary words in your writing here. And then also use at least one transitional word or phrase from the chart that we looked at today. And just a hint about using those transitional words and phrases. Once you're done with your writing, or as you're drafting your text, it might be helpful for you to read your writing out loud and listen to how the ideas connect. And if anything sounds choppy, or if there's like a sudden shift that doesn't flow very well, that's probably your indication that a transitional word or phrase is needed, and then you can pick an appropriate one from the table. So once you've done that, to close out the lesson today, I'd like you to share your writing with somebody and then relate it back to the essential question of the unit, which is, what does it mean to call a place home? And after you've done that, remember to read your book for 20 minutes today. To preview what we'll be doing for week two is when we'll start reading a new text. And this new text is an informational text. Um, it's about it's called A Changing World. It's also from your textbook, and it looks at how the world changed and how two world wars transformed England in the 20th and 21st centuries. So we'll be looking at, at some historical context there, and then again using that as background information to help us answer some of those essential questions and guiding questions from our unit. Thank you very much, and I will see you at the next lesson.